I'll just count us down, man. How do you guys want to do this? You want to like just be like,
How did you guys
ready?
do it last time?
Well,
I decapitate him.
you see,
It was one.
we like Brian tried to count us down like 3, 2. Or what he did was he was like, it's 3. All right, guys, let's go into this,
But
guys.
from my point of view, it was 3, 2, 1, then clap.
Yeah, but you know what? This isn't your point of view. It's my point of view. This is the My Point of View podcast.
Oh, it's my podcast. I'll do what I want.
I will do what I
Marco
want.
is the main character.
I guess you're right.
No,
Nah,
one
but-
expected
the
Marco
bad
to
guy.
be the main character.
Brian, I say it like that because I'm the one recording everything. It is my point of view.
I know. I heard it from the
We're
previous.
tearing this family apart.
Just so you guys know, we've started.
hate it.
We've started.
Dominos Rex.
All right, I think.
started?
Yeah, we've started. We're gonna have to introduce ourselves. I am.
Oh wait, we're going?
Yes,
Optimus
we're going.
This is
It's time
awful.
for me
This
to
is an awful
introduce
entrance.
myself.
Why?
This
Why would
this
you
is the
start
most
like that?
well because this is the most organic entrance we have. I don't think we have anything that we're gonna be like. And we're
Absolutely
here,
caught
guys.
off guard.
Oh, so we're not gonna be that group. We're not gonna be those who's
No,
like, all right.
we've already started.
We've started
And
already.
welcome back
Yeah,
to our
should we get
podcast
on to
series.
introductions?
Yeah, we got to do
Good
our
morning,
introductions.
Vietnam.
All right. So I am Marco. I'm basically the god here because I have an ego.
The Emperor.
Went from
That's
the
how we're
leader
doing
it.
to
The size
king
of a
to now
cow.
emperor.
I'll upgrade my title
That's
every
how
time.
we
All right. And then we have 4 other people here. Go ahead and introduce
We're
yourselves
gonna
as you
get to
please.
the ultimate deity, Marco, one day.
Well,
Hey.
I guess we have we have the different
God
mortals
King Marco.
here, I guess.
The mortals.
Chris, you can introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Chris. I am the false deity that was originally the leader of this podcast.
Were you? I don't remember this.
See, that's how
You
long
lied,
ago
it's false.
it's been.
Because he wasn't.
I've erased.
I
I've
was.
erased his history. Brian.
I reject your reality and instead place it with my own.
Brian,
Oh.
go ahead.
I'm Brian. I'm the planet level being here. I came up with the actual idea for doing the podcast, not Chris.
Oh my-
Don't worry, I'll cut that
no,
out.
Not,
We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out of a live broadcast. For those of you who
We'll
are
edit it
here
out.
for the
We'll
live
edit it out in
broadcast, you'll be the only one who knows about it.
Do not hide from the truth.
Go ahead, Taylor.
I am Taylor. I am an ethereal being who will only be here for a very short time before I have to vanish into the stardust.
Yep.
Which
And-
happens
'cause I
more
gotta
often
go to
than we
work.
care to admit.
Return to darkness.
All right, Damien.
Well, unlike the others who sound like Alcoholic Anonymous, I'm Damien, and I love to drink. No, I don't. No, but seriously, everybody here sounded like they were like, "Hi, I'm." I was gonna say Brian is a
Hi.
generic name, but we have a Brian here.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi,
But
welcome
you
to our
can't tell
alcoholic.
me it
if
did
we were-
not
if we were
sound
in a-
like Alcohol Anonymous.
If it was alcoholic, we would have needed to like clap for each other or something.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi, Marco.
person.
okay.
I insert name here.
It's not easy to be here. No, it's not easy.
You know, I've been thinking. I feel like in this
I
podcast,
have-
we can be as crass as we want. Just like, don't there's a line. We could be as crass though.
Yeah.
Like
There's
I don't
a
want you.
line, but there is no line.
You know what line there is. You know where
You
we
don't want to
stop.
offend. You don't want to offend certain
Yeah.
groups. Or
The
ethical
moment we
beings.
bring up interspecies reviewer is the moment where we stop where the line is.
No, that's not
Oh,
the
I don't
line.
wanna know
You know what? That's a
No.
and that's a great subject. Let's get on to that.
Yeah, let's get on to that. Interspecies reviewers. Remember,
I love
this.
it.
It
I've
was okay.
Surprisingly, not watched any of it yet.
It's
I
okay.
am
I-
ashamed.
I-
I feel like
what's going
me
on.
and Brian. I feel bad because I actually have.
I don't.
I read the manga like a long time before it
You
became
know what?
an anime.
Me too,
and I
Taylor.
was very no. Okay, correction. I read a bit of the manga. I didn't read the whole thing.
That's right.
So,
Somebody
but I
want
was
to
extremely
explain
surprised
this
to find out
really
that it became an
quickly?
anime.
Oh yeah.
Guess what? Instead of
That
taking
now
things
can't
from
be
the
made.
manga, they
Hey,
added.
guys.
Hello.
For Damien, explain. What is this?
Okay. Interspecies
Art.
reviewers, Damien, is an anime It's an anime that Funimation attempted to release over here earlier this spring. That got removed from their streaming service and got pulled from the TV company that was showing it in Japan, namely because of its risque behavior. The whole premise of the show is that it exists in a fantasy world where sex is a normal thing. Most females of any race are technically
a
sexual
beautiful and
and stuff like
glorious
that.
world indeed.
It's just the main characters going to different brothels, testing out different prostitutes, and then reviewing them.
Yep.
Yeah.
That actually sounds kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's fun.
The thing is, in the manga, it's kind of just played up as a joke. There's not really
Why
any
is it called
overtly
interspecies
sexual.
though? That makes me sound like
Because
they're
there's
gonna,
different-
Because they're all
Because they're
monster
all
girls!
Because
Jeez,
not all
Taylor.
of them are monster girls. They
Here
review
comes
humans,
Taylor.
but it's the fact that it's called interspecies reviewers
Because there's different
you've got one
species.
human, one elf, one halfling, and a cat person.
Also, the brothels they go
Analamia.
to. Also, the brothels they go to are all different like species typically.
Monster
Species.
girls. Yeah, different
So you got
species.
things like normal humans to lesser succubi
Mushrooms.
to lamias.
mushroom.
They had pixies,
Harpies.
didn't
Yes.
they? Like fairies.
I think there was a
Mushroom
Scylla in
girls.
there, wasn't there?
Yes.
Yes.
Flame
so.
salamanders.
Yep.
That place is like a whole like cookout thing. It's pretty cool.
Mhm.
That one actually is really cool.
So that's what the show's about,
Right.
Damien. And then they were like, "This is woof. This is too steamy for us." And they're
The whole reason it's too steamy is because they actually
I can't
added
believe it's
stuff.
not hentai.
Yeah, they actually added more sex scenes to the anime than were in the original manga.
so it got
Well,
too
you know,
steamy
as they
for
say,
them.
sex sells, and nothing sells like a bunch of internet dweebs looking at porn.
That's
I mean,
fair.
it's done well. They've
Yeah,
taken it off the
It's
stream
done
all
well.
streaming platforms.
The funniest thing about it,
It's been removed off of two
When-
Tokyo not websites, but channels. Two TV channels. in
Wow,
Tokyo.
it's got to be
Or
fucked
Japan.
up for the Japanese not to have it.
oh yeah, like it goes all the way.
hmm
And then
But
another
the
one brought it
funniest
back
part
with,
about like when it was being streamed on Funimation though, that they censored it to the extent they didn't even show like nipples that were being already hidden by clothes. Funimation doesn't usually care that much, I don't think.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
know.
of a certain anime I could think of. Valkyria, Drive Mermaid Dive. Anywho.
I don't
Oh.
know what he said.
Don't worry,
I don't
Damien.
need to know.
Damien,
Lesbians, all you need to lesbians.
Damien, we sent you down this hole, and you have there's no way for you to get out. Like, you're
Don't
not
worry,
gonna
the Gateway
know any
Anime
of
would
this.
The only
recommend
thing
is,
I can do is try to dig myself a hole, separate away,
Yes.
hide in it.
Wait, Taylor, were you there for the DP in the shower discussion?
No, I was not.
Hey, Taylor, if you're in the shower,
Hi, yes.
if you're in the shower, you have no idea what I'm about to say,
Joke's
right?
on you, he's got to be in the shower.
Yeah. If you're in the shower, do you take a piss?
What,
like,
I wonder what could it be?
Yeah. What could it be? Would you take a piss?
Yes, I do sometimes. If I gotta go.
Now,
then.
so what is this roundabout way that Coconut went through that didn't make any sense to Trayvon?
He was saying that you're like a filthy animal if you decide to pee while you're in the shower because you're gonna get piss on yourself, even though you're taking a shower.
You're in the shower.
Yeah, even though
And
you're
you're
taking a
cleaning
shower and
yourself
you're
off?
cleaning
Yeah.
yourself, he's like, you're an animal for it. I don't understand. Kyoki's gonna listen to this and he's
Plus-
gonna be like, well, you guys aren't giving me a fair blah blah blah. Yeah, just shut up, Kyoki. Anyways.
Another thing is that, like, pee is sterile.
That is true.
I think it's
Because of the
sterile. Like,
ammonia in it,
I think
correct?
it's sterile like before it leaves, but the second it touches you, it's not.
How does that work?
Well,
I remember
because it's the
reading
same. It's
somewhere-
Still,
well,
like,
if pee was
it's
truly sterile,
it's
it wouldn't be an
mainly
issue.
Sterile because it's mainly sterile because it's boiling technically when it's inside of you. Your body temperature keeps it
Boiling?
sterile.
It's not boiling.
It's not boiling, but you get the point.
So I could
Your
piss
body
lava?
temp is
I'm-
what I'm
I
What
thought
I'm
it had
s-
something to do with the ammonia.
Well,
Boil
the thing
release.
is, I know for a fact that like if you have a cut or anything, you don't want to get piss in it. That's gonna lead to complications.
I know you don't want to get like fecal matter in it. I don't think I've ever heard somebody say directly not to piss.
Now
in
let's
it.
look this up. Is urine
No,
sterile?
I've never heard that.
Why would you,
I've always
though?
heard
I know
Like-
vulture poop is sterile.
that.
Don't ask me how I know this.
okay.
I'm not going to. I know that there's that
Just
common
gonna
myth
leave that
about
one
pissing
alone.
on jellyfish stings is a thing, but like, why? I can't remember why that
So
doesn't actually.
interesting little thing. The first article that pops up says that it is, but like literally everything else under it says no, it's not.
Well, what do we believe?
Well, I'm gonna believe ScienceNews.org instead of The Guardian. I'm just gonna say.
He won't leave me alone.
Okay,
You're
well, Marco,
not
do you pee
sterile.
in the shower?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
I don't think
So
it's.
we're
I don't
all
think
on
it's
the
an
same
issue.
page
Yeah,
here.
I don't think it's an issue. Some people, some
I don't
fools, call you an animal if you do. Just saying.
Don't forget Savage Beast.
Yeah, don't forget Savage
Mhm.
Beast. Anyways, so
But then again, there are also people like Harley.
yeah, what about Harley?
What
What
about?
about, yeah, what about Harley?
What does that mean?
Do you not remember how he explained? Okay, it's all right to do. He doesn't pee in the shower, but what he does instead,
No.
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 he opens his shower and
Oh,
will
yeah.
pee into the toilet.
Beam into
That's
the
that's
That
toilet.
is such a waste.
that sounds like a skill shot. I'm just saying. I'd make a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have that type of accuracy and pressure, so I don't know.
It's not an issue of pressure. It's an issue of gauging the distance. It's like you
I
gotta
said
have it.
accuracy and pressure.
You
I
gotta
know what's
you,
going on.
you gotta. It's like you gotta
Man,
have.
I've pissed in sinks,
It's like tracers,
garbage
man.
cans,
You gotta gauge your
trees.
distance,
I've
and then
pissed
you're
off
like
a
you're
house
seeing where it is, and
before.
adjust for wind and whatnot.
Why do you got wind in your
Shut
bathroom?
Hair dryers.
Hair dry while you're taking a shower.
I'm just saying, Brian. Lots of things could happen. I'm planning for the
like
worst.
I said, I've pissed off boats. I've pissed off a house.
Well,
I
when
know
you
how to
piss,
gauge
when you
what my
piss,
shit's
when you
doing.
when you piss off a boat, you're not aiming. It's not like you're like, man,
no,
I hope I
we were
don't hit
moving.
this water. I hope I don't hit this
No,
water
I
that's
didn't wanna hit
all
the
over
boat.
me. I
I don't
No,
wanna
I'm
hit
just
the
imagining.
boat or myself.
no.
I'm just imagining someone doing that, like they're in the shower and they open the curtains to pee in the toilet, and then somebody else is there just like blow drying their hair, and they just aim the blow dryer at the person in the shower for some reason, and it just goes all over their face.
Taylor,
You
the
think
wor-
you're allowed to piss
Disgusting.
here? You're wrong.
It's a crazy world out there, Taylor. You don't know what's gonna happen.
You have violated the bathroom laws.
You've indecently exposed yourself. They're trying to get it away.
Well, why are they in the bathroom while taking a shower? How dare they?
Well, I don't know. What if Don was in was in the
What
bathroom
if
while
it's
you were
not?
taking a shower?
What if it's not their shower? What
What
if
if-
the dude in the shower isn't in their shower?
What if no.
Oh, no.
Yeah. What if Brian's not in his shower? What if he's in my shower?
Why would I be in your shower?
That's the question. I'm shooting you with my
I
hair
live
dryer.
nowhere near you.
That's why I'd
If
be
he's in
freaked
your
out.
shower, why is your first idea to shoot him with a fucking blow dryer?
It's the closest thing I have to a gun at the moment.
Why not throw the blow dryer at me?
Man, just
Because that'll
walk up
kill
and
you.
Put the blow dryer on your dick. Yep. That's where we're doing this.
Brian,
On
that'll
my
kill
dick.
you. It's like the toaster. You're in the shower.
Yeah, but obviously I'm breaking and entering and cleaning myself.
I'm breaking and entering.
Yeah,
and
but
bleeding.
Brian, if I killed you, I'd feel a little bit
I'm
bad. and
exfoliating under
and
pressure.
I'd feel a bit bad, and I'd add to a statistic of people dying.
You'll just be another number in my eyes.
You'd be another number.
We're already numbers.
Oh my.
Oh my goodness.
Society.
So,
Hold my
Any-
hand.
is there any news to talk about? Do you guys see? Do you guys
getting
saw? You guys saw that? The president, they had that one press conference, and one of the ladies was like, "We need to make sure that one generation stays safe. You know, the generation that
Oh my
learned how to
goodness.
skip through levels. I always thought you could only go like level 1, 2, 3, but they'd go from level 1 to 3. Like they learned how to look around
Level
corners
3 to
and
7.
yeah.
What are you? No,
Like no,
What?
basically this lady, this doctor was like, we need to keep the speedrunner generation safe.
The speed.
What?
runners.
Yeah,
Speed.
it was
I-
it was really funny.
Explain yourself. Cause I'm confused.
No, that's all she said. She was like, we just got to keep that generation.
What is? What is the speedrunner generation? Who are they?
Those who grew up
The
with
people,
Speedrunner
what are you
as...
talking about? What I just explained. The people who
Yo, mama!
the people who like grew up and like figured out how to speed run games with glitches and whatnot. That's what she was saying.
Oh, I thought we were talking about fucking
That's like a
Speedrunner, the
that
show.
spans over you know, quite a few people, generations, might I add.
Yeah.
You know.
And they said that we
I
got to
think
keep
speedrunning
we got to
really
keep our
started in,
speedrunners safe.
What, like
Probably the 80s.
Well,
Whatever games
presume
were
the
pro-
80s.
early...
Yeah, when games were
or mid
were more
2000s?
advanced. No, I'd say even goes
But
on well beyond
Later
that.
2000s, you think?
What is the importance of keeping them alive? Like, over anybody else?
Because they figured out how to do it, Taylor.
Because
Who said this?
they're fast thinking. They're
The problem
exploitative?
solvers, they don't.
They
they're
know how to
problem
exploit.
solvers.
yes.
No, they're the type of people I don't want to live.
They're the type of people I don't want to live.
Jeez.
I want them to be gone. This
Like,
I want you to be dead.
I want you to be dead.
Billy and Mandy,
No, but
everybody.
like they're
snaps.
extremely good. They could be engineers if they put enough fucking like effort into it.
I can.
Anyone can be an engineer if they put enough effort into it.
That's fair.
Fuck you! I work with engineers all the time, and those people are dumb.
That's what
Does
he's.
not put in enough
If
effort.
the bar's that low, Damien, then he's right. Anybody can do
The
it.
bar's not low because you gotta get college education,
You can
and that shit's
technical-
expensive.
You can get technical.
You can get
not
tech-
my-
yeah.
My job pays.
You
for
can
it.
get a technical
Those
degree.
aren't real.
That they are real.
Those aren't real.
All right.
You're just mad,
They're not
Damien.
people.
You work at a terrible company.
I work at an amazing company.
Hardly
I
said
love
begs to
my job.
differ.
Harley and I work worlds apart, even though we're working in the same fucking room
no.
at different
Just
times.
saying.
We work in the same room,
In other news.
but I have a much better like thing. Anyway, yeah, let's move on to a less personal property.
yeah,
is what I was gonna
less
say.
personal
So
topic.
Animal Crossing came
No,
out.
That
Okay,
yeah,
no,
that
alright,
happens.
never mind then.
I
Has
mean,
anybody seen that amazing like video of the Animal Crossing mascot dancing along Doomslayer?
Yeah,
There's
Right.
quite
Yeah,
a few
that's
of them at
pretty
this
great.
point.
there's a bunch of those.
I
Yeah.
bet the original that they put out. I think IGN put it out.
Yeah, that IGN used like Blender to get the models for. Yeah,
I really like that.
or not Blender, but like Source Filmmaker actually. Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna.
I wholeheartedly support this crossover between Doom and Animal Crossing.
Isn't that what the guy who made Animal Crossing said?
Yeah, he thinks it's super cool too, I believe.
Yeah.
One
Doom
animal-
Crossing.
one
Animal Slayer.
Doom style, please.
Doom Crossing Eternal Horizons.
Mm-hmm. Doom
I
Crossing.
actually would play a
Eternal
game called that.
Ah.
No,
maybe.
but the GameStop that I went to try to go pick up my copy was like doing the whole delivery door, like our
Yeah,
door's
all,
locked, you
all
can't go
GameStops
inside.
have to do that now.
Yeah,
Speaking
I know,
of
but it was
GameStop,
just like
I
earlier
thought they
that
were
week
going out of
though.
business.
They
but it's like
it's-
a very slow.
It's
going
more like
process.
it was like
But
the
apparently
beginning
their
of
sales
it.
have been higher since this whole outbreak
It's
started.
more like the
though, because
beginning
they
of-
haven't closed.
It's more like the
That's
beginning
weird.
of it, but so like they downsized. They like
Okay, because I mean, last I heard it was like they were all just like disappearing off the
no,
goddamn map.
they were just
Well,
downsizing.
you gotta think about how many stores they had. There were places that had like 6 GameStops in one town.
Well, yeah, they're literally within a 10-minute radius here in Utah, where specifically where we live. There was like 4 of them.
Dude, there's like 3 GameStops near me right now that I know of.
There were almost as many. There was like half as many GameStops as there were McDonald's, and everybody knows that that's a lot.
Yeah.
Because
Kinda
you
insane.
know the
Speaking of-
importance of Mickey D's is ridiculous.
Speaking of Utah,
Ridiculous.
Damien, we had an earthquake.
Yeah, and it shattered my entire soul and psyche. No, it didn't. It did really. It really fucked up a lot of psyches of several individuals that I am.
Yeah, it was not fun. I don't like the aftershocks.
No,
Those are annoying.
Honestly,
With-
the initial earthquake, all it did was like I woke up out of bed and it was like, what the hell's going on? my first thought was like, "Hey, is everybody okay?" Not there's a fucking earthquake.
Hmm.
And then the big aftershock, we had that, what, 3.9, 4.0, something like
It was
that?
4.7.
The aftershock was 4.7? I thought
I thought it was. Let's see.
I'm a
the earthquake itself
shaking
was
in my boots.
5.7. Anyway, the one we had at about 7 o'clock yesterday, or no, day before, that one just pissed me off because it, coincidentally, or maybe it's because of the cause of it, it knocked my internet
Yeah.
out in the middle of a D&D session.
Oh,
Damien.
That was funny.
That was actually funny.
That
Yeah,
was
That was
hilarious.
super funny.
Yeah, Damien, the initial one,
I was just sitting there, I was like, what the hell's going on?
Damien, the initial earthquake was a
Okay, I'm
5.7.
back.
The big one, or the big aftershock, was a 4.6. There were actually two 4.6 aftershocks that were like, one was early in the morning and the other was at 1:12 p.m.
Yeah, I heard that there was one like, right then, but I don't know. I didn't really. I think I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like. I keep seeing posts on Facebook from friends of mine that keep saying like every time that their bed shifts or like they move too fast or somebody like kicks something next to them, they freak out for half a second and have a mini heart attack because the earthquake was so detrimental to them.
I can understand that
And
because
understandably, we're not
just the
supposed
Earth
to
open.
have earthquakes.
well, it's
Anyone can have an earthquake.
Well, the thing is, like, when you compare it to
Yeah,
other like
but-
natural, when you compare it to other natural disasters, you can typically forecast for other natural disasters. Like,
yeah, we
you
could
could
see
see
a hurricane, we could see a tsunami, we could see a goddamn
Those are actually
tornado.
the same.
A hurricane and a tsunami are slightly different. Listen here, you little goddamn shit. Anyway, so
it's
but like an earthquake, they can be like, it's gonna happen, and then it happens like 45 months after.
Mm-hmm. Like you
I
can.
think you're just
but-
afraid of the earth changing.
Also, the last one that they
Excuse me. Whoa. I think you're just afraid of the earth changing when it can break that. When it can make my house be leveled and
Well,
not exist
like,
anymore and kill
literally,
me.
I think the worst part
you're a
for
parasite
us,
to it, obviously.
I think the worst part for us Utahns is that the last one that they predicted was supposed to be the one that takes
The
out
big one.
Yellowstone.
Do you know
So
actually
we
something
had
I
this
learned?
minor earthquake,
Something I
and
learned.
everybody's like, "Oh no!"
Something I learned was that the fault line in Utah was actually only big enough to have at max a 7.5 earthquake.
That's
pretty
why.
big.
That's
pretty
why our
strong.
earthquake buildings, like my
Are rated to
facility,
8.
are rated for 8 or higher. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Our parking structure in main building are 8.5, and the rest of the facility is 8.
I found comfort in that. That the largest one is supposed to be at the highest it could be is
At
7.5.
max. Well, yeah, because honestly, when you look at like the history of different earthquakes, you'll notice that only like the ones that are above 8 are like horrifyingly like destructive. Like
Yeah.
that one in Chile that fucking rocked the shit. That was a
Oh.
9.
Come on,
Right?
You can move your body freely.
Yeah. So
awful.
like, it's just having only the capabilities of a 7.5 should make everybody at home feel safer because you're not fucked.
No big one. No big
Yeah.
one.
The worst that can happen is your power gets knocked out.
Well,
That
like, no,
sucks.
not the big one is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah,
big one.
because
The God shattering star, big one.
Mm-hmm.
so like
Everything
like the
has
worst that
to
could
be
happen
said.
is some buildings might topple, the road might crack, and then like we'll be out of power for some while, or maybe even like out of basic resources for like half a month. But honestly, everything will be just fine after that. Plus, all those dildos we got doing construction that are amazing. Not the dildos doing the construction, the dildos like designing who decides to do the construction.
I don't know either.
I don't.
Here in Utah, we have been literally in construction on the same road for like 7 years.
That sounds like Dixie Highway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because of people like not the people planning it, but the people who actually work on those roads, I think we'll be just fine because they'll be able to fix everything pretty fast because it's an emergency response rather than this is your job, kind of do it.
Mhm.
It's prolonged.
Yeah.
I
Like-
object.
Objection.
Okay.
What is your objection?
I don't
Yeah,
have
object! Object!
one. Eject this conversation
object.
to another topic.
Object!
Eject.
No, but no, I think
Yay.
despite the fact that everything's a little crazy right now, I think everybody should be fine.
I don't know.
Overall.
It's just a lot of people are getting overwhelmed by like just it's two things like the earthquake it's just like a Utah kind of thing that really affected people, but they're also dealing with coronavirus and having
The
to deal
whole
with all
world's
that.
on
Stuff.
fire, and
Yeah.
the only thing that's happening is that we get shook up a little bit too. That's not exactly the best thing going on,
Mm-hmm.
but
Not at all, boy. Not even in the slightest.
No.
like I know that that's our main problems here in Utah. But what about over in Kentucky and Mississippi, guys?
Over here, it's basically just Corona, because everyone's freaking out about it, and it's just people are getting weird.
Panic buyers
about-
are getting to be a pretty big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, here in Utah, we have had an influx
Oh.
of over 250%, I think, of buying stuff that people
I-
don't need.
I think in
Oh,
the
yeah.
past 2 weeks, our infection cases have went from 1 to 249. So
We just actually had our first coronavirus-related death here in Utah, unfortunately.
mm,
I think he was like 62. He was. I remember reading over 60, but the guy was in the hospital for quite some time, and he just couldn't do it anymore.
couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, but that's the only one we've had so far, and I don't know anybody who's been affected by it personally. So
Yeah.
that makes me feel a little better. And I know that the owner of my company, he came and addressed everybody, and even so, we've got facilities all over the world. According to him, nobody in any of the facilities around the world, which include places like Singapore, Ireland, and Paris, have been affected by it. At least a confirmed case.
You would
That's
think,
awesome.
yeah, considering
that
where
I-
those specific places come.
Yeah, because we've got
Yeah.
Mexico, Singapore, Paris, Ireland, and a couple other places that I don't remember because they're not as big as those areas. And we've got the 3 here in the United States, one in Texas, one Utah, and then the other one that I can't remember.
I'm glad we moved off of
Important.
your. I'm glad how we earlier were like, let's move off of this very like
Well, yeah, sorry.
specifically work, personal work topic,
Oh,
and
I
go
thought-
back
I thought
into
you were
it.
just
No.
Well, no, because what I'm saying
Speaking-
is that all over the world that people are unaffected, and that's a heavy reassurance.
hmm
Speaking of
well-
work and the coronavirus, though, I got
Is this
laid
the
off
part
from
where
my
you
job at a
disappeared?
pretty decent time.
Yeah, Taylor,
No,
you gotta go.
no, not quite. In a few minutes, but let me tell the story first. Okay, so that place that I used to work before I got laid off last week,
The
Yeah,
car dealership?
there was a body shop right next door to the dealership, and a lady there was being tested for coronavirus actually, because she was extremely sick and was showing off the symptoms. So she was tested for it, and I never found out what her results were because I got laid off before the 48 hours had passed. But if she did have it, then it was probably a good thing that I got laid off, because she worked with this other dude in the body shop who went all around everywhere, the dealership and everything, and he was one of those people who was just like, I don't care if I get it. If I die, then it's my time to go, and I'm just gonna do everything normally. So I'm gonna
PSA,
leave your face,
anybody
and
who
I'm gonna-
thinks that, you're a jackass.
Yeah, like he was going on like that, and even joking about it, like by like coughing all over the place and everything for like a whole week.
I
Until
think I would have punched
one
him.
of the one of the
hear
people at service finally
crusade.
had to call him out and just like be like, it is not about you, and she
Yeah.
went off on him.
Good.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. I
Kick
mean,
his
Yeah.
ass.
That's what needs to
it's
happen.
really
now.
scary because like the symptoms for it, like that guy could be infected and he could be a jackass and he wouldn't know His symptoms could take up to 2 weeks to develop, or you could be asymptomatic.
Yeah.
Which is a huge concern for me and my dad because our immune system is very, very strong, so we don't get sick very often. But my sister and my mother's is not. And it's very likely that with me and him still working and going out, like to go shopping and whatnot, we could have picked it up and we won't know.
Yeah, like my biggest concern was I didn't really, if I caught it, then I'd probably survive. So I didn't really care about that too much. The whole thing is just like, my mom in particular has a very weak immune system, so I don't want to catch it and then bring it home, and then,
Once again, if you act like that guy Taylor just described, you're a jackass.
Or the guy in, like, I think it's North Carolina who got arrested because he was trying to make a joke about it on Facebook Live.
No. There was a dude who went on the airplane saying that he had coronavirus as a joke, and then he got arrested for that as well.
Don't forget the guy.
They aren't playing
Nah, guys.
Yeah,
Don't
man.
don't forget.
Hold on. All right, it's my turn to speak.
Yeah. Go
Hush,
ahead.
Children.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, and then back on the whole corona thing in Kentucky, at least, our border state, Indiana, apparently is effective of what day is this? This is Tuesday, March 24th, maybe like yesterday. They're going on lockdown now between like the certain hours of like I think
Randy up in
12 p.m.
Michigan says that they're
to like 11
they're going
p.m.
into lockdown as well.
Yeah.
Well, this would have
It's
been more
crazy 'cause
relevant.
I got a coworker. Oh, okay. I'm
No.
sorry.
I was just trying to say on that topic Damien was talking about being a dick with like the coronavirus. Remember that I was trying to say that there was a guy. Dalton brought this up a while ago. There was a guy in Japan that was tested for it and tested positive, and what he did was he went to a bunch of parties and just tried to spread it as much as he could.
What
Oh,
Chad.
that's sick.
What a Chad, man. I can't
Some
do that.
some people deserve to be lit on fire because it's safer for their bodies to be burned
Yeah.
and also
Fire
fucked
cleans.
up. But
Fire walk with me.
But
here
anyway,
in
I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye,
I gotta go
Taylor.
to
Become a
work, so
minimum
I'll see
wage
you guys
cuck.
later.
Be safe.
It's not minimum wage anymore. I got an upgrade of $1.25. Anyway,
Nice.
see you guys later.
Bye.
Wage. Go become wage cut.
What I was gonna say though is that here in a couple counties, it is now illegal
To live.
to
It's a minor
have
misdemeanor.
More than 10 people. Yeah, it's a minor misdemeanor.
Yeah.
To go into to have gatherings of 10 or more people.
Oh yeah, they're telling something like that too, and at work. But not that it's illegal. It's just you can't have more than 10 people in a room or whatever. Kind of sucks for where I work at. But hey, that's besides the point. Oh well, it's fine.
Well, but I mean, hey, companies are profiting off of this. I mean, Domino's
GameStop.
Yeah, GameStop is growing again. Domino's stock increased by 15%.
Yeah. I mean, there are ups and downs to everything. You just gotta be optimistic, you know. Just look at it. Look at life, you know. That one song that has that words. I don't know.
That words.
So, y'all hear about that Bleach anime coming back?
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's coming back. It's been like what, 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
Think so?
It's been a
Brian,
hot
Brian, you're into Bleach.
a little
I'll bet
bit.
I'm
Yeah,
the only
I
other
like it.
person who currently is, who still is.
My
Most
knowledge
people-
of it is pretty poor because it's been so long since I watched it.
I mean, yeah, it's like after Aizen died, spoilers, the last time, it's just like,
What?
last time,
Nice.
I keep watching. It's like,
After spoiler.
Yeah, after spoiler alert, Aizen died, and you get the Fullbringer arc right after that. Yeah, but then again, after that whole Aizen fight, that's when I kind of picked up Bleach. Sadly, honestly,
wow.
like I watched a little.
You
I know.
You got
I
in
know.
when everybody else was getting off the ship.
Yeah, I know.
Hey
I'm a
man,
little
everybody
late.
was getting off the ship. That means there was just more room for him.
Exactly, more space, man. It's like
Uh,
Noah's
so-
Ark, but I stayed on.
So it's been 7 years around. I've been told. How do they like pick that up? Did it not end in its own way?
No, that there was like another war. There was the war arc in the manga that didn't get adapted yet. So, Damien's Wi-Fi killed himself. Anywho, so the Wi-Fi, shit. The war arc. Sorry,
With a
didn't get
Wi-Fi
adapted. Yeah, the Wi-Fi war arc didn't get adapted, and that's what this whole new thing of Bleach is going to be. And I know a couple people are really excited for it. One being a content creator.
Personally, I don't care anymore. I've been off of the Bleach train for so long.
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
glad
that's
you were able
fair.
to bring your opinion. I've never really been into Bleach, but man, if you're excited for it, that's nice. I'm glad for you. Good
Yeah.
for you, man.
Good for you.
So we went into
So, what's up?
League, and
Oh,
we had a
God,
bad
man.
time.
3
We only
losses in a
we only
row.
played 3 games, and we just lost all of them.
Man, our bot lanes are stupid. I hated it. Except for one was genuine, but it was
I'm just in
annoying
top and
nonetheless.
just watching all of this burn down. Like, wow.
It's
Man,
fun up here. Meanwhile, on bot lane.
Good morning, Vietnam. I have made it back into existence.
nice.
I wish you didn't.
We're talking about League. Man,
That one thing you should not get into.
nah, you should
I have
download
League
it.
download.
You've downloaded it?
Oh,
Nice.
damn,
We should
too
play
late.
later.
We're too late.
Yeah.
This
I'll
part
think
too
about
gone.
You know what? If you play like later today, we can get Dalton in with us too.
Yeah.
Just out of
actually.
curiosity, is it rotation champions only, or can you purchase
No.
a...
You can
You
purchase.
can buy.
pass.
It's just like Smite.
No,
You
no,
can
no,
get
no,
the-
no,
Oh,
no.
it's not a season pass. Okay.
It's not just like Smite.
I misunderstood that.
You
So I
earn-
can buy individual champions, but I
Yeah.
cannot buy all of them.
yeah, you can buy individual.
Oh, you can buy
champions.
all of them.
I guess
but,
I
it's
could
gonna
buy all of
take
them,
a
but you-
while.
Yeah, it's
Or a lot of money.
There are 140 different champions. So
Jiminy goddamn Christmas.
There's a
Well,
lot of them. Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we could take a look at that later.
Yeah, later. But
Put a pin in that one.
I watch people play League and I'm like, man, that looks like fun, and I'm just not good at it. It's just it doesn't translate. I don't absorb the skills through osmosis like I'm used to. Like this is not normal. I don't know. I'll
it's,
play it again. It's just I'm bad at it.
Oh, I suck at it too. I lost
Yep.
my fuego.
Ugh.
But don't worry. That's the whole point of playing game. Oh, okay. Well, there goes Damien again. It's that earthquake.
It's that earthquake.
Damn
the
It's
earthquake.
the Damien earthquake. He probably fell over.
Earthquake. But yeah, it's. Don't worry, Marco. I'm sure with enough suffering, you'll be
That's
happy.
That's right. With enough suffering, I'll get there. But if we pick up Dalton and Damien, I'm gonna
This
play a
was
different one.
unexpected, a series of
not
events.
really. Damien's probably gonna play top, so I'll play jungle.
Nah, Damien. Do you have any idea what kind of character you want to play?
No, I have no idea.
So Chris, he could play any role.
He could play any role.
Okay, fair enough.
Like,
fair
keep
enough.
in mind the champions that I care for in Smite. Sun Wukong.
I don't know.
No,
I like
well,
Heimdall.
okay. Some Wukong. There's a Wukong in the game, but it doesn't mean he plays the same. I just want to
Yeah.
say that
Yeah,
before
I-
somebody
I-
says
And he got a
Wukong.
rework too. Or a slight tweak.
You said you like some Wukong.
And
You liked
he-
Heimdall?
he's done. Damien left the party.
I'm going to have a heart attack.
You know, Chris also left and joined the party.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. These people need to just chill out.
But
Man, I'm glad I turned off those tones, right? Otherwise, we'd be hearing all
Yeah,
those noises.
I'm hearing all
I
that.
apologize.
Ba-ding!
You should be.
I do not, because
that
I
was-
don't know what's
that
going
was-
on.
That was actually me sitting on my controller. Fun.
You sat on your controller in such a way that you were able to leave the party.
Yes, it actually
That's
happened.
impressive.
That is very impressive. Perhaps we should
I'm
call the
just
cops.
losing Wi-Fi connection. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I like Sun Wukong, but I like his kit in Smite.
hmm
His
I don't know
kit's
the-
a
Not
bit.
necessarily the
Playing
god.
Smite.
His kit's a lot
You
different.
don't like
in
the
League.
Monkey King?
Because I mean, there's nothing wrong with him, but like I like because he's got abilities that I like. Like he can pin people down and hold them and do damage, but he can also run the fuck away. and I can do lots of knockups with the ability to clear ads and like players from getting close to each other. Heimdall has very similar abilities as well, but his are, I mean, they're different, but he has a similar kit in Smite, and I like both of those.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I like.
The only thing I'm interested
The
in
only
is
thing I'm
boys.
interested in is boys, birds, and the bourgeoisie.
Boys, the birds, the bourgeoisie.
Is that how we
are?
Is
Should we
that
start the
is that how we started
campaign?
off?
Why did I? Too many D&D.
Yeah.
Too many D&D.
Speaking of D&D,
That's a good way, yeah.
we could talk about D&D.
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't
I love
played.
D&D.
Oh,
I haven't.
how's that
I
thing
hate
going with
that I love
Dalton's
D&D.
live thingy?
Everything's really set up. We just need character portraits so that we can have an image slideshow. So, eventually, in the future, if Don ever comes back to this podcast, he can plug his stream because we have a huge following and that'll get him some views.
We got a major key.
Do we even have people looking at us?
We had
right
one
now?
person comment on our video, so I'm just
How
saying.
beautiful! Let's see what they said. Or was it
Yeah.
the person that we talked about?
It was the person we talked about earlier. We have
Well, whoever that guy is.
we have a
Thank
decent.
you.
I bet it's like Cole or somebody.
I'm gonna go
Some
find
nerd.
Yeah, some loser.
Jeez.
Some friendly nerd.
But
All the
The
tech support
Ligma.
people I know, for some reason.
uh,
some
but-
ass.
I haven't played
Anyway.
D&D in such a long time.
It's not my fault. I mean, it is my fault. It 100% is my fault.
Yeah, a lot of it is your
Yeah.
fault actually.
I didn't mean for it to happen. It's just I work so hard. And I have problems.
for context-
I cannot stay away.
For context, Damien.
I may have a small case of narcolepsy that
Small?
may be caused by a very likely and hereditary form of sleep apnea.
Yes, but for
I
context,
pass out at random intervals at all times, and I was a dungeon master, but I could not do the session because I would pass out when everybody was ready for it.
Wait,
And
can sleep apnea be hereditary?
yeah, it
I
can.
don't know.
Yes.
Sleep
I have
well, sleep
never heard of
apnea.
that.
Sleep
Okay.
apnea is typically because of the way your throat and your nose and everything is like formed. Like it has a typical shape that makes
Yeah,
it harder for you to breathe.
Because I have,
Okay.
for context, my neck is the size of some people's thighs.
Well,
I have
not
a
my thighs.
19
He's also tiny.
inch neck.
He's also tiny.
I am stocky built.
He's
yes.
he's a
I'm not
small
tiny.
boy. SMOL.
I'm 5 foot goddamn 8.
No, he's not. He's a liar.
He's got 2
I'm
inches.
not.
He's got 2 inches on me.
All
I
right.
thought that you were 5'5".
Well, it
But
depends.
I'm
boy.
I
built.
said 5'6".
I'm built like I should be. Much like
The only reason he's 5'8"
my
is because he
broad
has 2-inch
shoulders, my
heels.
barrel chest, and my large neck should be more appropriate on a person who is above 6 foot. Like, my proportions are not
yeah.
very good for a man of my stature.
It's like imagine you had a
Yeah.
6-foot man, but then like
I'm
you squashed him.
I'm literally a dwarf. I'm stocky built.
I don't know, Damien. For a
Which is
literal
the reason
dwarf,
I
you'd be
won't
tall
build
if
a
you.
D&D dwarf.
No. For Damien, if you were a literal dwarf, you're a bit tall for that, don't you think? Liar, about 5'8".
Actually,
Yeah, Damien?
No,
Yeah.
in D&D,
Yeah.
D&D, dwarves have been reported on average all the way up to 5'4". So I
Then
would only
that
be,
would be
a
tall.
slightly taller dwarf.
4 inches is not slightly taller.
There's only 4 inches between me and Kyoki. Let me tell you, it's the noticeable
That's like the
difference.
difference between the average sized man and a not average sized man.
That makes
It
it
happens
not
a lot
normal.
Mm.
That's
It
not
happens a lot more
normal.
than normal.
It's not normal if it's average and then not average.
Look, there is shit. Look, the average height is somewhere around 6 foot, but there are a lot of people who are 7 foot.
No.
and a lot of
Let's look
people
at this
who are
up.
4 foot.
The average.
Don't use Shaq.
Heights.
Don't use Shaq as a point of reference.
The average
I
height.
use any of the
Damien.
NBA people.
Damien.
You can't
Average.
tell me that
don't.
they're average height.
Damien.
They're
Average.
not. They're well above average.
They're
height.
not.
But there's a
Yeah.
lot of them.
So what?
That's what I'm saying.
Damien.
Compared to the
Even though it's-
population, though. Compared to the population, not really.
Damien.
No, yeah.
For the results that pop up.
I'm
First
just saying,
results.
it's
First
highly
results.
possible that I could be a slightly taller dwarf.
First results for the average height of a man. 5'6".
Woo!
Really?
On average.
That's what popped up. Human
Yeah,
height
it got-
5'6".
You
It
can't
got
be
low.
average. You gotta be above the. Yeah, you people are short.
You know
Tall
what?
people's a dying
Let's look
breed.
at these links. Let's look at these links. Let's see.
Yeah, see when the census was taken, because I don't know. Last time I heard it was 5'10", and it was originally 6 foot. Originally being in the 19.
This article was first published in 2013 and
Well, yeah,
updated
we're
May
short.
2019.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's up to date. So
Okay,
Marco,
yeah,
we are
What you happy
apparently
about yourself,
giants.
Chris? You happy being the average? You short
I
boy.
am average. People
You know,
call
back,
me out, but I am average.
like 50 years ago, the average height was taller, man. All right.
Yeah.
Only
and if
for
we
men.
keep going back, and if we go back
Yeah.
another 100 years, I am considered tall.
Well, I
Let's
think
not
the
do
reason
this.
for that is that a lot of the
If
population.
we go back another
comes
50
from-
years after that, we were tall again.
I think
still
the
tall.
reason that the average was 6 foot was because a lot of like where the
Diet.
census was taking place, and well, not necessarily the diet, but I mean is a factor. But like,
Funny enough,
like
in the United
where the
States,
census was
this is
taking place-
this is specifically in the United States. 5'9" is the average.
yeah, that makes more
Damn
sense
it!
Yeah.
because people in
Fuck out of
the
here,
United
Chris.
States are typically taller than most of the other world.
Mm-hmm.
So the further, like when we first took the census back in like the 50s to the 90s, right? We didn't have as much data access to the rest of the world. That census is skewed to the taller population, just naturally. But now that we can get everybody, we can see everybody shorter. That's why it's 5'9" instead of 5'6", which is still lower than I thought.
It's okay. I'm
Because
world
Yeah,
a whole 3
am
inches
a
shorter
world
than you
average.
thought that 6 foot was the average.
I am world average. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, Psyche.
He's world average.
Alright.
This is coming from a black man.
I know, right? You short boy.
Oh my gosh! Do you know what the average height in Uruguay is?
What?
Oh, sorry, this is for women.
No.
Never mind. For women, it's 5'2".
What's the average
I was
height
about
for
to say. Do I
What?
need to move?
5'2"?
The,
Uh-huh.
the average height for
That's
women is
how tall my dad
5'2".
is.
Jeez, 5'2".
Mhm.
Whoa.
But for men, it's 5'7".
You wanna-
I got a
my
whole
dad
foot on them.
My dad is 5'2", but he is shaped like a
Whoa!
gorilla.
Whoa!
Yes, Marco.
Vietnam!
Hello.
The average size
What
for a
about them?
woman, 5 foot. The average size for a man,
Let's
Just
go.
keep shrinking. Just keep shrinking.
average size of a
What's the average
man,
size for a man?
5'4".
Oh, dang.
I must go to Asia. I
You know
will be
that-
a giant.
I think it's Rush Hour where Chris Tucker's walking through. Is it Chris Tucker? It's been a long
Yeah,
time.
Chris Tucker.
He's
Yeah,
walking
Chris
through
Tucker.
and he's like 2 feet taller than everybody. That's no shit.
Yeah.
Did you know
Well,
they actually are,
Probably not.
they can get very specific. United States African Americans average height 5'9". Hispanic and Latin Americans 5'6.5". They very specifically say 6.5. Mexican
Okay,
Americans
so I'm
5'6.5". Asian
Okay, you're
Americans
above average.
5'7", and United States non-Hispanic whites 5'9.5".
Why do they always specify that
I guess-
if you're
Then again,
a non-Hispanic
guess-
white? Why can't they specify that you're just
because there are white there
Yeah.
are white people who have like
There-
Spanish descent.
Well, yeah, Carlos is in the other room, and the dude looks like a goddamn Mexican Viking. But Like,
oh,
there are
boy.
black people that are like completely white because they're mixed or they're
Yeah.
fair skinned, but they're like
Yeah.
white.
Yeah,
They're like your
Yeah.
personality white.
that's why it's non-Hispanic
Wow.
whites.
It's not personality, Damien.
And the
it's
reason
just
you
boy.
can't say African American and not Hispanic is because
Okay,
the
so
thing is a lot
to
of
be
us
specific-
have Hispanic in us because we came from.
to be specific,
From the
Not
Dominican
to-
Republic. Oh, like Keith.
non-Hispanic whites are European Americans, Middle Eastern Americans, and North African Americans as defined by the United States Census Bureau.
Oh,
And down with the government.
hold
that's
on,
fine.
Brian. You work for the government.
The other ones,
Sadly.
the other ones are like Asians Americans are obviously of Asian ancestry. Mexican Americans are obviously of partial Mexican descent, full or partial. Hispanic and Latin American is this page does not exist, and African Americans.
Wait, which one was that?
Wait, who doesn't exist?
Which one
No,
was
no,
that?
no. I was just hovering over the term, and it would tell me a little like a little snippet. Like African Americans are an ethnic group of Americans with a total or partial ancestry from any of the black racial groups of Africa. All right. And then if I go over Hispanic and Latin, it just says Hispanic and Latin Americans. Page does not exist.
You heard it here, folks. Hispanic Latin Americans are not real.
Latin America does not exist.
Latin's a dead language, and so is Latin
Regular
American.
Latin Americans and regular Hispanics, however, are normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can't be both.
You know,
according
it's
to
it's
Google.
it's like binary code. You can't be a 1 and a 0 at the same time.
Yeah, you're either
Unless you're
yes or
Google's
no.
quantum computer. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
No, I
No,
know
I don't
nothing
track-
about
I
technology.
don't track that. Yeah, that's not on my
I don't
profile.
track
Last
Google-
supercomputer
it was a
I heard
while-
about
I
was
practiced-
the champion of Jeopardy.
I
It was-
practice I look up things based off news from things that have long since been dead.
It was October
what's up
of
with
like
this
it was October of last year that this happened. A while. It was like typically like with like most storage, if I'm not wrong, it's like it's binary where it's either a 1 or a 0, and that's your bits of data. But with this quantum
Yeah.
computer, it can be both. It can be a 1
So
and a
what?
0.
Isn't
So
that
what,
10?
is that, what do we call that? Do we call that tripinary?
No, that's why it's called a
Binary?
quantum computer.
Okay.
Huh. Let's
Uh,
let's not
Wait
let
till
near
God hears about this.
It's okay.
Let's see.
Again,
Ordinary
remember, Stephen Hawking's warned us the machines would
So,
eventually
let's see.
surpass us.
ordinary
Elon Musk is also against machines being
Ordinary
important.
computers perform calculations using bits of information, which, like on and off switches, can exist in either two states, either 1 or 0. Quantum computers use quantum bits, or qubits, which can exist as both 1 and a 0 simultaneously.
I don't like this.
So instead, so
Okay.
it takes up half the space and is literally faster. I don't know how they're gonna I don't know what they're trying to do with this, but it was really cool to find out that they did.
We will eventually have computers that will have faster synapse than a human brain, and that's scary.
It's interesting
Oh.
that like since the beginning we've had 1s and 0s, and that's like how you store data. But this is literally start recording, and we are live. Go into it whenever you want.
We apologize for the small cut
Minor
in everybody's
inconvenience.
audio. We are back to normal.
But you're a regular scheduled program.
Yeah, but you're
Good morning, Twitch community. 'Cause that's,
Twitch.
I believe we're.
we're not streaming.
I don't even know. Okay.
We're not streaming,
Oh,
man.
I thought we were streaming. Okay.
No.
No.
Maybe
Either way,
maybe
thank
someday in the
God.
future we can stream, but
Thank God we're not streaming.
that's why. Yeah.
We would have probably been pulled
I was
already.
under the impression that
Oh.
we were gonna do it just like the D&D thing where we stream
No,
it and
no,
then
no.
record it.
No, we're recording
Okay.
these and then I edit them. So
woot.
yeah.
Even
So
better.
you were talking about I just mentioned how I found it interesting that data has always been stored in this kind of like bits with the 1s and 0s, but this is like literally changes everything. And you're making a tangent about it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it's amazing that if you look at the way technology has advanced in just the last,
50 years.
fucking, well, not even that, like even last 25, like I was saying, like Jesus, like everything is just so fast all of a sudden.
Yeah, have you noticed? Like everything,
It's
including
like
our
we started on
heights.
carts and then we built the goddamn train.
Yeah, have you noticed our heights as well? We're leaving the people behind that probably wouldn't have survived, right, Chris?
Also, not only are we getting taller and stronger, but we're also living longer.
Yeah, we are. I wonder how long.
Living
Yeah.
stronger, faster, better.
I wonder what the
Yeah,
average.
This is just
Lifespan?
the next stage in our transition. Before long, we'll just become sloths. We'll have really long lives.
I already
because of
got you
sleep.
beat.
Yeah, I'm lazy as shit. No, that's where you were going with that, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. I'm no animal. Or am I? I don't know.
Huh.
I'm in the shower.
Brian, that. Oh no, that's not Brian.
Did you know 18th
picture
century
that-
Prussians in the like 18th century Prussian in 18th century Prussia, the life expectancy was 24 years old.
I
Oh
don't
no,
blame
I'd
him.
be about to
I
die.
found that surprising because Prussia is really like
Funny enough, in Japan,
any
it
of the Slavic
was no.
areas.
In Japan, it was at the same time, 18th century. It was 41 years old, almost double, or a little less, yeah, but almost double.
Well, also in
Minimum
18th
age.
century Prussia, that was the height of like mercenaries coming out, and Europe has always had a problem with quality of life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Prussian people were always sent out to other places for like French and other like English and European like battles, wars, and like minuscule things like that as mercenaries.
Hmm.
And like you're young as a mercenary, you leave it like but between the age of manhood, 15, and like 30, if you made it to 30, which most people didn't, and then you just didn't come home, whether because you died or not. And then you got all the problems that the European areas have with like the quality of life that I said earlier,
Like illness, starvation, hostile wildlife.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's not a friendly place to be.
Interesting. Did you know? When is medieval? When specifically do you think is medieval? Is medieval times?
Medieval times is there's a specific like they
Yeah.
know when it happened because it's essentially we lost. It was because medieval times is just before the Dark Ages, or is it still during?
I don't know. I can't be. I don't
Because
even
the Dark Ages refers to when we lost all like real documentation and we didn't know what the hell happened.
Well, we know what happened during the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages was the plague happened, and so we were just like, all right, we just had the Enlightenment. I mean, not the Enlightenment. We just had the Renaissance. Burn it all. So,
But
Burn it
I was
all.
asking because apparently, in life expectancy of scholars in medieval Islam was 59 to 84 years old.
I can believe it though.
Well, scholars don't do anything like
Yes, but this is also the
dangerous,
medieval
really.
times. If I hover over medieval Islamic world, it says traditionally it dated from the 8th to the 14th century, which is still below or which is still before the 18th century Prussia or France, which is at 18th century Prussia was 24 years old. 84 years
But
old
the
in
but the
14th
reason
century.
Well, the thing-
Also Islam is they care about human life like
Yes,
super-
yeah,
that's that. Yeah, you
they
could say all these.
really believe in not murdering each other.
But you could say all these things about like, well, because of this blank blank blank, but still, that's insane compared to everybody else. Like you could tell
What
me
was
like
the population of Prussia at the time versus Islam at the time?
Prussia at the time, I don't know.
Also,
Because
at
if
the same,
there's not that many people, then
plus it's less harsh in the Islamic world. Sure, it's hot.
It doesn't
like there are deserts and stuff,
matter.
but I'm just saying,
Burning.
heating
Oh, no,
is
it
kind of
matters.
different than freezing to death.
That's cool and all. You can tell me all these things, but it doesn't change the fact of how big of a gap that is. I think that's insane. Like.
I mean,
You could tell me, like, you could tell me,
environmental
you could,
factors have a big
you
factor
could
on that.
tell me all you want,
Yeah,
like,
man.
well, you see, the other area was more blah 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 and blah blah blah. But like, if this was like now and there was like, there's this far off country, let's name it like Whocaresistan, all right, and over there they just have
Alright.
they have really nice drinking water and they can live to 120, but we don't have that here. That's still crazy.
The problem with that is that the modern world kind of
It
prevents
doesn't
that from happening.
matter.
That's why it was just distance and people didn't interrupt
Yes,
with that
but
kind
that's
of stuff.
still crazy. Like I
it's
understand.
definitely something. I don't know.
That's not crazy.
What do you mean not that crazy? It's like almost
It's
three
not.
times. It's almost three times literally every other country's or lifespan. People like
Yeah.
actual generations of humans could exist in those other countries that don't exist,
Yeah.
or like they're still on their first generation. That is crazy.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
care
called-
what you say, Chris, about like it's
taking
normal.
It's called actually having a belief system that makes you care for your fellow human being, decent amount of resources, and an environment that does not completely hate you.
Nice. They had all these things going for them. Still, it's insane.
Yeah. insane.
It's like
Really?
But
it's no. It is. It's like saying so. What I'm saying is it's like taking an Olympic athlete and if he breaks a world record, you're like, well, it's not that crazy because he's trained for it. He's made his body all cool. He's been working towards this his whole life. That's still a feat of humankind. It doesn't matter if they had everything going for them. That's what they did.
Okay. Yeah, it's a feat of humankind, and I'll acknowledge that. That it is astounding that they got the lifespan there, but in the grand scheme of things, knowing that and comparing it to other regions, it's kind of understandable.
In the grand scheme of
Honestly,
things, other
I
people
think-
lived
I
a
think it would
spec
be-
and they lived for life. What are you talking
Honestly,
about?
I think that it would be a lot more impressive, like as far as this conversation is going. I think it would be more impressive if it was the Prussians who lived longer
Yeah,
Why?
that would have astounded me.
because they have worse.
I don't
like-
care that they had worse. It's just that there's so like
The
There's-
Well,
difference
then you
is
should
here.
care. You're afraid of knowledge.
no.
The difference
it's
is
just
pretty substantial, but the fact that it happened under certain circumstances is what we're looking at,
Yeah.
under certain
and it
circumstances.
lessens how.
How far
Yeah,
back
'cause
do you
we
want to
talked about
go?
It's not
No,
a
the
matter of
reason-
how far
it's
back.
that-
It's the
It's a point
differences
of like,
in quality of life.
yeah, and
We're
that-
looking
would
at
be
it and we're
astounding.
seeing that, oh, they had a higher benefit. That's neat that they have such a difference between the quality of life, and that affects their, like
Lifespan.
survivability.
Mm.
But like,
Yeah.
if you took Prussia, and then you had that same 24-year-old, and you had a fucking 90-year-old, that would be amazing. Because that, in the same circumstances, in the same area, that dude was able to live to 90. But we don't have
Or-
that.
Or even if we don't take just that, if we take groups of people, put them in the exact same situation, and then just one group of people only lived to being 24 and another lived to being 90, again, using that as an example, then it'd be understandable to be like, that's incredible. How did they survive being 90 years when these are 24 when they had the exact same circumstances?
No, that's
It's not
that's
that,
not.
it's not that the difference is so stark that we're not astonished by it. It's just that we understand why. So
It doesn't-
therefore, it's not nearly as crazy.
Even if you can understand why something is the way it is, it's still. I would argue it's still remarkable. Like you can't.
We're not saying
no,
it's
no,
not. We're
Chris
just not
is
as
saying that it's
infatuated.
not. He's saying he
Okay,
said
the best way to put
I'm
it
not
is-
impressed by
okay.
that. That's not interesting.
Okay,
Well, that's
okay,
not what I'm
it's
saying.
okay. It's interesting. It is interesting. It's just, it would be more incredible to me if there was a legitimate point of comparison of like, holy shit, these people lived in the same time, like the exact same scenario in this group of people.
Yeah, what's
90
the
or
average
24.
lifespan of Islam in the 18th century?
In 18th century, I don't know. Let's see. Average lifespan.
If it's the same, that would be amazing. Well, depending on the quality.
18th century. Because I'm slow at typing. Guys, come on, vamp.
Vamp?
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing I'm thinking about is
I
like,
don't know what vamp
again,
means.
he means keep going. But yeah, that's really it for me. It's
That's
just,
what that means.
yes, for me the whole thing is just, again, resources are a big point of that. To me, it's like comparing speedrun records and being like, hey, this person beat the game in such a amount of time, but they were playing on easy mode compared to someone playing Doom on Ultra Nightmare and still speedrunning it. And taking
I mean,
a lot longer.
You have to take circumstances into effect when comparing certain things. And in this case, that's what the majority of us are doing.
No.
While Brian just sits there with his thumb up his
The circumstances I'm taking into case is that during this time period, these people lived this long.
Yeah, and that
You
in itself is
motherfucker,
pretty
I
impressive.
was using the bathroom.
I told you, thumb up his ass. Anyway,
Damn, he got me.
No, but like the idea that they could live so long is cool. It's neat. It's impressive, and the fact that the Prussians didn't live that long is also neat. But you can't
They're
talk
also
about
weak.
the two of them without having us draw comparisons, because that's human nature.
What
And in the
comparisons
comparisons that
are
we
you
found,
drawing?
The stark difference between the average lifespan at 2 different intervals of 2 different areas and 2 different types of
The
people.
comparison is the difference. What?
The quality of
You
life.
asked what the
The
comparison
time,
was. I said
the
the stark
location,
difference.
the time
Yeah.
period, the difference in lifespan.
What you
based
see
off
is,
of
wow,
the
these people live forever during a time that's really far away. And what we saw is, wow, the Prussians had it shitty.
It was more than just the Prussians.
Versus-
What are you talking about?
Okay,
Because we're comparing the Prussians to
Islamic
the
people had
Prussians-
it pretty
The
good.
Prussians, the France, the freaking Chinese, even
I
the
guess-
Chinese with
I
a
guess
higher
another thing we're
40
not look-
is still less than half.
I guess I'm
Well,
trying to
we
remember.
made it a
another,
huge
The further
point.
you are from the equator, the worse you have it.
Well, yeah, that's natural. But another thing about it is also a big point of it. A lot of those areas during that time
Alright,
span
let me some
were also
goldfish.
dealing with the plague.
China?
Yeah, the
All
plague
right.
started in Asia.
Yeah, it
Chinese
started there.
rats are what brought it to Europe.
Because all they gotta do is just hop the border, man. Hey, you know how it
Well,
be.
actually, it was mostly on trade ships.
That too.
Yeah, trade ships. But that's it. And they were trade ships from Asia that went back to Europe, brought Asiatic rats back with them with fleas that spread it over there, and it kind of just started wiping out the population because no one really went to the Islamic world. It was kind of safe. It's like we're in the middle of this. We're just surrounded by death, and
Man,
we're
what's
just
up
fine.
with China and having all these epidemics and starting them?
Large
No, seriously.
population centers and low quality of life.
condensed
Yeah.
populations.
Yeah.
Like, I know that their population is huge now, but I mean, so is India. But India has less close quarters than
I don't
China.
know, man. India's pretty.
Then
their slums
China.
Are pretty. Okay.
Another thing about India that also separates it is also their caste system prevents certain individuals from even interacting. So
Yeah. But yeah, it's just that with China being, I mean, even in ancient times, it's such a modernized province that it just, with the urban environments, just breed like death.
it's easier to spread germs. Germs mutate a lot faster because they have a lot more hosts they can live
Plus-
inside of.
Plus, China has a lot of commerce, even back then. And everybody loves commerce. I mean, you saw all those Karens in there. I feel bad for anybody who's not a Karen that's named Karen. But
I know,
anybody who has been paying attention, you'll notice that there's a lot of Karens out there that love toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Which I still don't understand why everybody's buying toilet paper.
Because they're
Co-
stupid. The first thing they think is
COVID-19 doesn't give you shits. I do not understand. What are they using the toilet paper for?
They might have the shingles or the shivers.
That still wouldn't require toilet paper.
I don't know what requires toilet paper other than diarrhea. Okay.
Dysentery,
Well, there we go. The more you learn.
which
More
still
than
causes diarrhea. But moving on.
Well, G.I. Joe.
But yeah, it's
Hey,
Like, what
no,
are they using
no,
it
wait,
for?
no.
I just
They're
want to
just
know.
Wait,
hoarding
wait,
it.
real
Just
quick,
hoarding it.
real quick. The freaking
quick.
the bubonic plague happened in the mid 19th century, not in the 18th century.
which one? Because the plague hit.
All right,
hit
it
Europe
happened.
like three
it happened
different times.
three different times. You're right, and that would have been in 15th century, not the 18th century, and then the 19th century, and then the 6th century.
Look, man, this plague's been coming around, making its rounds like it's Christmas.
I'm just saying
But
that
it's-
that's not
okay,
related to the
even if it
lifespan.
wasn't
Then
at its-
what do you
okay,
mean? Even if it wasn't,
okay,
that was
if it's
a
not
big
exposed-
thing that you were saying.
Okay, best way to. But okay, if you put a disease out there and it wipes out a large portion of the population, okay. Now, the other thing about the bubonic plague is it also bred pestilence. It bred a lot of rats. It caused a lot of things. So that equals food production being lowered. That's less food to feed people. Housing has to be changed because a lot of the houses now are pretty much being destroyed and rebuilt, meaning there's a housing shortage. And again, like Damien mentioned before, mercenaries and warfare is still going on. There's a lot of stuff that can fuck people up.
Basically,
Shipping.
anywhere in the Slavic, Baltic, or Germanic areas during almost any century, you'll find that they have a high population of like a high
Vagabond
what's the
rate.
word? No, well, maybe, but high output.
Not right.
Output's not the word I'm looking for, but I'm going to use it because I guess
Turnover.
it's the word. No, not quite. But they
Supply,
put out a
demand.
lot of mercenaries because, like,
Employment.
Prussians and the Slavs, those guys are fucking big. They're mean, and they grew up. The Baltic lands and the Slavic areas, they are, descendant areas that the Vikings raided constantly.
Yeah.
Which means that they are built off of this idea of warfare. So everybody's like, it's a good idea. Let's get those giant fuckers to wage our wars for us because they'll do anything for gold.
You're right. I will do anything for gold.
See?
Now, as
So
for the more
you have a lot
warmer
of
countries,
young men going out and they just don't come home.
as for a lot of the warmer countries, places like France, Britain, stuff like that, while they themselves wouldn't actively be fighting war, there is still a lot of stuff that would still fuck them up. Because again, warfare is still food production being lost. There's still illness that's running around. Even if it's not the plague, there are more than just one illness that can fuck up a population center.
Yeah, the bubonic plague is a very specific.
It's the
and
one he was
large
talking
spread.
about, though.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just saying, it's just a large thing.
Mm-hmm.
and again,
And you're right.
Well,
And
again,
in those
pestilence.
times, one country was able to get to 84 years. That's oof.
yeah, in the Islamic world that did not have to
You're
deal
right.
with any of this.
Wasn't that's
Because,
crazy
they were
that while
smart.
all these people were suffering, these people got to 84 years, and that's like one of their life
Thriving.
expectancies. That's
Being
Well,
insane.
that's
prosperous.
specifically scholars, and scholars are treated higher up in any place because
You're
they're
right.
valued to society. What is the regular
No, what's
lifespan of
the-
a regular person?
Regular lifespan? I couldn't tell you.
Okay, that says a lot.
That says a lot. What do you mean? What is that?
Yeah,
what's
'cause
the
if you-
what's the
'cause if you
regular
get in the
lifespan of
lifespan
what's the
of
regular
these-
lifespan of freaking Prussian nobles that didn't have to fight in these things? What?
Okay.
Huh?
Probably
Okay, I guess
higher.
that's the big. I guess that's the big thing we're also looking at here with the Islamic world. We're getting a specific niche of the population and saying, "Oh, they lived a long time." It's just like if you came here, you said, "Oh, these people lived a long time." Well, okay, what were they compared to the average?
And you know what? That'd be insane. It'd be, man, the disparity between the two. I would think that's insane, crazy.
Yeah,
That would be, oh, I'd be disgusted if I saw the disparity between that. Man, wouldn't you agree?
I
No.
agree that it's a disgusting disparity here because it's all people in the same country.
Oh, what are you talking about? You were just talking about the Islamic and how if we saw the difference between the scholars and the other thing, that it'd probably be
Yeah.
like a huge thing. What do you mean? They're the same country too.
I'm not saying it's be a huge. Yeah, then I would be a little bit more willing to say, yeah, that's amazing, because then we're looking at people where it's like they have a lot more in common with
You're-
basic resource
What do
availability.
I mean, you were talking just now about how it speaks volumes that we don't know the different or the average lifespan. Like, then that does.
But we
You're right.
know
If we
the
don't know the
scholar
average
lifespan?
yeah,
Yeah.
if we do know the scholar lifespan, it speaks volumes that we don't. Like, man, that must be an insane
Speaks volumes
difference.
that we
Then.
don't know the average population because
You're
it
right.
means that they just didn't care about the average population.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if they didn't care about the
that's
average
well planned.
population, that makes it even more insane that they got to that old,
I mean, yeah,
right?
I guess. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I feel like we could change the topic because we're just getting in. We're just
That would be best because I mean
This
at
podcast has
point
been
it's-
going on for a while now.
yeah, quite a while.
I don't think it has anything to do with the length of time. It's just the draining.
Oh,
of
yeah,
this
no.
back
I
and
think
forth
that's enough for the
about
anthropology
fucking
section.
dickheads being alive longer than other dickheads.
That's
Like it's
enough
not
about-
something I want to participate in, to be honest.
That's enough about the anthropology section.
Ah, damn, Riley would have loved it. We were talking about dead people.
Oh yeah, we were. Yeah, that's what
right.
he's enrolled in.
Riley
now. That's
wants
what
to
he
be
is.
an
He likes
anthropology.
dead bodies. Wait, no.
No, yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
Well, he's in forensic anthropology.
No, well, is forensic anthropology actually a thing, or is that a TV job?
No, that's an actual
it's a
thing.
thing.
TV
You,
job.
okay, so
No,
you know
for a fact there are 100% fake
so-
jobs like that.
you know Bones, the famous forensic
Yeah.
anthropology TV show.
Yeah.
That's based off of a real lady.
It's
Oh,
a
really?
thing people
Like
do.
the character Bones herself and her interactions with the FBI agents and stuff like that is based off a real woman.
Well, okay. So I don't doubt that like forensic anthropology is a thing. I just don't think that it's a thing in regards to current investigations. You know what I mean?
It is in regards to certain
Kinda.
things. Like, if we're not like looking at, oh, well, this person died. Look at this gunshot wound. We can tell that. Now, but let's say you find a body that you can tell someone murdered and is like really old, and you need to figure out what happened, and you think you can tell it.
That's not a
That's what they
current
do. That's what they do for
investigation.
those like.
So
No, but they do that for those unsolved.
Yeah, that's what.
a
Yeah,
lot
yes,
of
I
if
understand
you
that.
if you watch the show Bones, you'll find a lot of episodes where it is literally like one of my favorite episodes is that they find a body of a man who was at the Pentagon during.
Oh yeah, I know.
9/11.
I've seen that. I've seen that episode.
Yeah. So like they have a lot of episodes that are like that, but because it makes for a better TV show, they actually add in the story, which is where you get Booth and them working together as
We're-
partners.
yes, it's a fine show, but what I was asking is, they don't like actually have somebody that died maybe a week ago and say, "Hey, you forensic anthropologist, do you want to help us with this current active investigation?" Is what I'm
usually
saying.
not.
No,
Yeah,
then
that's
they
what I'm
just call a
saying.
coroner.
That's what
They
I
just call a
meant.
coroner then. It's like, well, what's
I understand that there's anthropology where they try and figure out how these people died and what and all these things, like we're studying of these bodies and trying to figure out what the circumstances of their deaths and where they were, who they were, and what they were, like blah 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 and whatnot. I just, whenever I hear forensic anthropology, I think of those things like Bones, like Damien was talking about.
And that makes sense because it's a show that's got like 12 seasons and it's been around for a while.
And also, that's just how jobs are. It's like if you say, "Oh, so what do you?" "Oh, I work crime scene investigation." It's like, it's not the show. It's definitely not the show. But yeah,
it really
it's a
isn't.
thing people do.
You ever hear?
If you work in a pawn shop, you're not dealing with pawn stars anymore.
Yeah. Did you ever hear?
Yeah, usually those are staged.
Well, you ever
But
hear?
Yeah.
Whenever I hear about, like, we were talking about CSI, and I thought of that line you hear that's like, it's like a 1 in a billion chance that this DNA evidence is not actually linked to somebody. Like, what kind of circumstances does it have to be that it's like, oh, we thought it was you, but it wasn't? Is like only thing I can think of is like a twin brother, maybe, or like something like that, like a very close relative,
I
so that
think it's
your
like-
DNA isn't or is mistaken as somebody else's.
It's not
or vice versa.
exactly. It's not exactly like that. I've taken a few like criminal sociology classes in my time in college. DNA evidence is actually a lot more faulty than they make it out to be.
Well, I mean, DNA evidence and like the research of it has only been around since basically the creation of the FBI, which is less than or I guess it's about 100 years now, huh?
It's not the foolproof science that TV makes it out as. It is full of holes. Because when you're looking at a crime scene and you're investigating DNA, DNA can exist. You're not going to find a hair follicle and immediately know it's specifically this one person.
And that's
I mean, you have to
that
compare
whole
the
thing
DNA to
also
other
relies-
people. Like, you have to have DNA
and
comparison.
it
It's not
all
like it's going to be
relies
like blah
on
blah.
if that person's in the system. Because
Yeah.
if they're not,
Also true.
they don't exist.
Yes, I can understand that
And
that thinking, but
and then there's also the fact that depending on what DNA sample you get, there's also genetic similarities with a bunch of other people. So it's like, well,
similarities
you
is
could literally
a
be anybody.
similarities is a thing, but it's not necessarily like, man, since you're brothers, we can't tell these two apart. No, you're a lot more unique than you think, man. It's
Yeah,
you could say
yeah, but it's like
yeah, but it's like
DNA is again. What I'm saying is DNA isn't. You're not gonna find DNA, even if it's like, let's say, a blood sample, and it's a decently sizable blood sample. You're not gonna be able to exact pinpoint. You're gonna need extra evidence to pin somebody. You're gonna need things like fingerprints and stuff that's also in the system that's easier to focus, like
So-
one individual.
what this is kind of related because we're talking about crime and people being similar, but it doesn't have anything to do with the DNA. But so my grandfather's my grandfather, he has a brother, and he and his brother, the only difference between them is that one has a beard and the other one had a mustache, and his other brother had just had sideburns. They were that close. And on several occasions where my grandfather would decide to be a less than hospitable individual to society, they would, in fact, arrest, on multiple occasions, actually arrest his brother because they thought it was him.
That
This includes home raids as well.
I don't think that's not
I said
necessarily.
it has nothing to do with the DNA. I'm just saying with the similarities. I started that with that.
I can understand maybe saying that DNA is inconclusive, like maybe, like when it first came around, like 20 years ago or what, 30 years ago. I don't know when it came around, but
well, the whole thing. Well, go ahead.
But our technology has gotten, like we mentioned earlier, it's advanced so far, so incredibly far, that we're able to tell genetic markers from our ancestors just based on your DNA. And that, I just don't understand how you could take that and be like, man, I wish this was accurate. Like,
like it is accurate.
Well, another thing is that when they're doing
what TV says,
when they're doing
not TV says, sure. TV always
when they're doing
fancifies
DNA tests for
things
crime
like that.
and stuff, they're also trying to do it in a much faster manner. They're trying to do it in a speedy process, and that the ancestry stuff, I mean, that takes like 2 weeks to get back to you. It takes a long time.
I just feel like if
they don't have that time.
If this information that you guys are telling me, I just feel that if this information you guys are telling me is correct, that a lot of trials wouldn't, because there's a lot of trials that are dependent on DNA evidence that that courts would just not include it at all if it was that inconclusive.
Well, no, it still helps, but DNA evidence, basically how it works is if we want to get someone on trial and say this is their DNA, we know it's them. Basically, you have to have 16 genetic indicators that are a match for a person, and that's what you need. But however, most of the DNA we find in a scene only gives you like half of those, so you can't verifiably say it's just that one person. And on top of that, most DNA evidence only gives you like a specific trait about an individual.
And
say,
you need,
oh, this individual has black hair.
Just like circumstantial evidence, you need more than that to just you need more than just straight up partial or full on DNA.
I'm not saying that if there's a piece of your DNA at a crime scene, you're gonna get indicted for this crime. I'm saying that DNA is a lot more reliable than I feel like you guys think, but like this is one of those things that I doubt we're gonna get to a conclusion. So I can understand why you say these things.
Like my point is saying DNA is not like useless. I'm not saying that. It still has a perfectly viable
I'm just going off of the knowledge that I learned in the law
investigation.
enforcement programs and
It just has flaws,
classes that I took.
That's all.
High school classes.
You know,
I also took some programs outside of high school.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
and for me, it's my college courses that I take, that I took. Like DNA samples are.
Despite popular demand, I am relatively intelligent.
Now, of course, there are DNA samples that are obviously
Damien?
more conclusive than others.
I could think of one thing, Damien, and you know it. Dossier. Anyways, you were saying, Chris?
Nothing. We're not going to talk about this.
Okay, that's for a later episode. I'm going to ask about that again. But yeah, there are certain DNA samples that are like more conclusive than others. Like, for instance, a semen sample is a lot more productive because that one's, you can go and check that one and get a pretty decent match.
Remember,
to
kids,
something
if you're gonna commit a crime, don't come on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Compared to something like, say, oh, we got skin flakes or hair. Those are going to be a lot less reliable.
That's fair.
Because even if you pinpoint exactly who they belong to, that person just could have been there jerking off.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't think that DNA automatically indicts you. but it's a very pretty. It definitely links you to something being at a location.
Oh yeah,
at
it
least.
does link you to being at the sea. Yeah.
I think it's a lot more conclusive than you guys think, but we're not gonna agree on this, and I know that. So
Well, yeah. Even still, though, like none of us are professionals. So
Yeah.
we won't ever know. Even professionals wouldn't be able to agree with each other.
I'm sure professionals will be able to reach a consensus, but
I don't know.
maybe one they don't like, but I'm sure they could reach a point that they're like, hey, let's at least agree on this. I don't think we're gonna reach that, but.
Not.
Is there anything else we want to talk about, or do you want to stop here? Because we've been recording for like an hour and a half.
I think it's a good to stop here.
Brian's like, I want to get the fuck out of this. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know what's going on.
All right,
Oh, I know what's going on. It's just damn.
I'm okay with continuing, but obviously, if some dickheads are not.
Oh no! Excuse me.
No! You've been saying for the last 20 minutes. Yeah, we.
You know what?
Here.
Yeah, you know what? It's done. It's over. We're gonna stop right now. Already? Okay.
All right.
Right now.
Yeah, right now.
Oh,
Say bye.
we gotta do our outro.
Gotta do our
All
outro.
right,
What's
like
our
and subscribe.
outro?
Like
We're
and
not
subscribe.
snapping.
And
All
leave
right.
a comment.
Please
Hit that bell
leave a
notification.
comment. Leave a
I'm gonna end
notification
this right
and
now.
Like us all.
Leave a
This has
notification.
been